I'm Emo.
I'm Jackie.
And welcome to another episode of
In the Groove.
In the Groove, that's right. Well, as you probably heard in recent news, we had a rock and roll tragedy as we lost one of the greatest guitar players of all time, and that is
Eddie Van Halen.
That is right. And all to cancer, which he kept very discreet. No one really
I had no idea.
Yeah, I know he had cancer about 10 years ago. That was in the news. But it just kind of went under the radar. He got better, he was performing again, and then just bam, out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was a shocker when I heard that I was getting tested for COVID, and I was just like, what?
I was at work, and I just went into this full shock of sadness, because he wasn't even that old compared to some of them. In honor of Edward Van Halen, we're gonna talk about some Van Halen today. We're gonna go on a little field trip in a little bit. I'm not gonna tell you where we're gonna go. You're gonna have to wait a little bit and find out. So Jackie, do you want to tell us a little bit about some brief history about Van Halen?
Well, if you're like me and Emo, your dad probably really loves Van Halen or an uncle. And so in the 80s, well, late 70s and all throughout the 80s, Van Halen was one of the most biggest rock and roll bands to live. In 1962, Eddie and Alex Van Halen moved with their family from the Netherlands to Pasadena, California.
Pasadena.
Very local. Their dad was a Dutchman musician who earned his paycheck by playing in little local weddings, and that's what Eddie and Alex grew up seeing. So their dad put them in classical piano classes, which
who would have thought?
Yeah, right? But soon after, they kind of wisened up and they started hanging out with some cooler people, and they discovered rock and roll. So they ditched the Mozart for the rock and roll. So initially, Eddie learned how to play the drums, and Alex was actually on guitar. But soon after, they switched.
I love that. That's just so,
yeah,
such a fun, literal fun fact.
Little nugget of gold. So the brothers decided to form a hard rock band called Mammoth. Did you know that?
Mammoth, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, gotta love some Mammoth.
Yeah, Mammoth.
I'd love to hear what they sounded like.
So after forming Mammoth, they eventually met David Lee Roth. David Lee Roth was at Pasadena City College, and he met the brothers there, and they would rent out his PA to do shows.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. You know what? We can fact check that too. I don't know if this is super proof, but I have for you.
Oh my gosh.
A Van Halen comic book.
What?
From 1990. And it has a bit of the story, so I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but it has some fun pictures in here, and it talks about the whole entire formation and growing of the band.
Soon after, they met Michael Anthony, and they were Mammoth. But then they learned in 1974 that Mammoth actually belonged to another rock band's name who had the rights to it, so they decided to go with Van Halen, which I'm kind of surprised David Lee Roth was down with that.
Yeah, I'm shocked. Actually, well, it doesn't, pretty much everything you said is what is covered in this comic book, so I think they are pretty factual. There's actually a little blurb that talks about what you just said. He said, "Man, I don't know if I like the idea of calling the band Van Halen. Now, are you sure you don't want to call it Roth? Or better still, the David Lee Roth Band? Oh, I got it. How about?" And then Michael Anthony goes, "Will you shut up already? We already decided on the name." So I'm sure this is actual, credible quotes.
In 1974, they became Van Halen, and for 3 years, they became the most local, popular band. They were all over town, all over LA, Pasadena, Santa Barbara, and they were originally doing covers of like disco, pop, little rock and roll here and there. They ended up creating their own music, and they were a hit. Everybody loved them. So in 1977, Kiss's Gene Simmons decided to check them out at the Starwood in Hollywood, and he loved them so much that he decided to finance their demo for them, and eventually vouched for them so that they would be signed with Warner Brothers.
Like we've talked about, Gene Simmons is such a businessman, and so he was ready to get Van Halen going. In the beginning, it took a long time for that demo to get anywhere, and he was actually going to be their manager. But
wait, what? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he that's what their plan was, but they weren't really getting anywhere in the beginning with that demo tape, and by the time they did get discovered, he wasn't really in the picture anymore.
They became Van Halen, and they blew up. Their first album, Van Halen, which featured Jamie's Crying, Running with the Devil, all their maintenance. Anyways, it's a great one. So it went gold for 3 months, and then 6 months later it became platinum. So they went on to have 12 albums, 2 live albums, and 2 compilation albums. They went on to be the Van Halen that your dad and your uncle probably know and love.
And we do too.
Yeah, we do too. But today we're gonna do a little emphasis on Eddie Van Halen and pay a little tribute to him.
Eddie Van Halen happened to be my absolute idol in high school. I had pictures of him literally everywhere. He was on my binders, no joke. He was all over my locker. I had posters of him in my room. Not even posters, I just printed out pictures from the internet and just put them on bulletin boards in my room. I had him on my MySpace. When I would meet people with bad taste in music, I would just shove it in their face and tell them, watch this video of Eruption, and they what I just loved about him was, first of all, his guitar playing was so unique. And you know, I think he's just one of the greats, and he was a little bit later than a lot of the other icons we talk about, you know, like Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page, Eric Clapton, but he was also so different from them. You know, he was the one who popularized tapping. Still, it wasn't just straight shredding with no melody. That's what I just loved about him, was that, you know, some of these more hardcore, heavy metal bands, they're amazingly talented, don't get me wrong, but sometimes for me, it's just a little bit too shreddy and less melodic, but I know Eddie Van Halen just did the perfect combination. His riff, you know it's Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah.
For example, so if you didn't know, Eddie Van Halen is actually the one who did the guitar solo on Michael Jackson's Beat It, which is why I say that is the greatest pop song of all time. And, but he didn't get credit on it, actually. His name is not on the album or anything. And actually, Michael Jackson loved him too, because when he came in, he reworked a lot of the arrangements and the song in general, and he kind of was nervous about showing Michael Jackson what he did. But when he showed it to him, MJ looked at him and he was just amazed. And then he said, you know, I love what you did, because you didn't just come here and just play the solo. You actually were passionate about the song and wanted to make the whole thing good. So I love that about him. And then there's a story about how Beat It was playing in Tower Records one time, and there were these 2 little kids that were kind of making fun of the solo part. They were like, who does this guy think he is, Eddie Van Halen? And Eddie Van Halen was there, actually.
Oh
He taps the kid on his shoulder and goes, that is me. And then, yeah, so exactly, like, you just know it's Eddie Van Halen. So Van Halen went on, and they got Sammy Hagar joined in as the lead singer, because Eddie and David Lee Roth were having a lot of control issues, especially because it's David Lee Roth, who I love. David Lee Roth with all my heart, but he's a little bit of a douchebag, you know. But that's what he's known for, you know. So Sammy Hagar came in, and I am very much Team Roth over Van Hagar. I don't know about you, but
yeah,
even
I have to agree. But if you're Sammy Hagar, if you're watching right now,
you're a great guy.
We love you.
Yeah. But something about the shiny, just flamboyance of David Lee Roth, I just love so much. Yeah. And there was actually another lead singer for a quick bit, Gary Sharon.
Oh, that's right. Of Extreme.
Yeah, which nobody really knows about this random third singer. But I actually got to see Van Halen in 2015. It was my dream in high school to see them. Yeah. They weren't, in high school, they weren't together, they weren't touring, and I was my dream. I used to just pray, get Van Halen back together and play around here.
At the Forum?
And it was actually at the San Manuel Amphitheater in San Bernardino.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was such a fun concert. First of all, my friend and I had nosebleed seats. My friend and I had nosebleeds in the lawn, and this group of metalheads that I could tell were going to be our friends that night, they just hand us 2 extra tickets that they had, because they had just been upgraded, but they got extras. We got moved up to 8th row. It was amazing, and my favorite part was
this always happens to you.
It happens a lot.
This always happens to her. She's like at a concert, and she got the cheapest ticket, and then I just see pictures of her with the band, like, dancing in the front. Like, how does this happen to you? You have the best
I don't know. It's these metalheads. I love them. And one of my favorite parts about the show is the contrast between Eddie Van Halen and David Lee Roth, because Eddie's up there, he's shredding away, but he's just in a white button-up and jeans, you know, just being casual. Yeah. And David Lee Roth is the same David Lee Roth. Sparkly, shiny spandex, a sparkly jacket. He's doing his toe touches and cartwheels. So that's a little bit about Eddie. Eddie and Van Halen. And as I mentioned, we're gonna take a little trip right now and show you just a couple little iconic spots of Eddie Van Halen. There's been a lot of memorials set up throughout Pasadena, which isn't too far from us. So we're gonna take you along as we go visit them. All right, our first stop, here we are in Pasadena, birth town of Van Halen. Almost hometown, not the original hometown of Eddie and Alex since they were born in the Netherlands, but this is where they were raised starting at age 7. And here is this beautiful memorial that fans have set up for Eddie. As you can see, everyone's brought flowers, pictures, notes. This is the sweetest thing. I love it so much. And I know, I love that. And you might wonder, why this spot right here? This is a random liquor store, a massage parlor, a clock store, you know. So the story is brothers Eddie and Alex in 1976. So before their debut album even came out, they etched their name on this wet cement right here, Van Halen, and it's still there to this day. And it's just beautiful to be here, and you can feel Eddie's spirit and love from his fans in the band. All right, and stop number 2 in Pasadena, right down the street from where we just were, is Eddie Van Halen's childhood home. Can you imagine being out here in the 70s before you even knew who Van Halen was and just hearing this screeching guitar and these crazy drum solos? Yeah. It could have been Eddie on drums too.
It could have been their dad, actually.
It could have been. That's right. So imagine all the memories that were made right here. And as you can see, of course, all these fans have brought all these amazing, amazing gifts for Eddie. And just stare at this and pretend like you are hearing a teenage Eddie Van Halen. All right, we got our buddy Lucas here. How you doing, Lucas?
Doing good. How you doing?
Doing fabulous.
All right.
Another big, crazy Van Halen fan obviously came here to check out the memorial. Tell us a little bit about what Eddie Van Halen means to you and how you became such a fan of Van Halen too.
Meant the world to me, man. I mean, it started, my dad is a drummer, and I saw a Van Halen cover band, right?
Awesome.
So, and you know, they just looked like they had so much fun on stage and everything, and you know, the music was just like so captivating. So I was like, okay, gotta find out what this is about. And I think I was like 15 at the time when I heard it for the first time. I heard like Ice Cream Man or I'm the One maybe.
Oh wow.
And I'm just like, what is this? And you know, the swing, and like since I'm a guitarist myself, you know, that rhythm and that tone, it's just, yeah, blew me away.
Did you ever see them in concert?
Never did. No, I'm from Sweden actually. So,
really?
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Came here a year ago, so I never got the chance. I thought I'd meet him one day, but
Well, in spirit, here I bet you he's with us right now.
In spirit, yeah.
Do you have a favorite song?
It's really hard. Something from the Roth era.
Yeah.
Sorry,
No,
sorry, Hagar fans, but
we just talked about that. Yeah.
Probably. I mean, Take Your Whiskey Home is a damn good one, just musically. Very interesting.
Admit, I don't even know that song.
Yeah, it's a good one. Starts off on acoustic. It's Women and Children First. Okay. It's a very good album.
We've got a real
Amazing.
fan here.
I know, I love it. Can you give us your best Eddie Van Halen guitar solo impersonation?
Okay, step away.
All right. Give the room. Oh yeah, beautiful. Well, thanks, Lucas.
Yeah.
I can tell that you are a true fan, and glad to be here with you.
Nice to
Nice to see you
meet you.
guys.
So we just found out from our buddy Lucas. He said not to quote him, so it's not official, but what he very much believes and that we think is that this shed right here, you can see the top part, a lot of magic has been made here from Eddie Van Halen.
That's right. He said that all songs were written up until 1981 in this shed. So that would include songs like Runnin' with the Devil, Eruption, Jamie's Crying.
Their whole
really got me
debut.
out. Exactly. Dance the Night Away. Yeah.
Basically, their first album, by the way, was almost like a greatest hits. Every song in there was a banger. Yeah,
Seriously.
and they were all written right here. Do you feel the presence of Eddie? Because I do.
Up in the Pasadena.
Let's try to write a song right now.
Okay.
Since we have the magic of the shed, let's see if we can see if it was the shed that gave Eddie his talent.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Girl.
Oh yeah. Here we go. We'll go one word at a time.
Okay.
One word at a time.
Girl.
I've
Been watching you
from the distance,
over my guitar.
and we're climbing. Yeah. All right, let's send that in. See if Warner will pick us up too, and see if that's an Eddie Van Halen classic. I don't know if it's quite the status, Maybe it was Eddie and
made
not
the
the
cut.
Shed. I think we'll give it to Mr. Van Halen on that one.
Thank you so much for joining us on this little journey in our tribute to Eddie Van Halen. We hope that you enjoyed visiting his family home.
And his little name outside the liquor store. And just being in Pasadena. Yeah. Be sure to subscribe, share,
And like
that's
this video.
right. Maybe comment. Tell us what you want us to do next. What albums you want us to review, what places you want us to see.
We're open to suggestions.
Yeah, let us know. And you keep on rocking.